everybody, and welcome to this week's Maths Mash. I hope you've had a lovely Easter and we've loved having you back after Easter. So this week in Maths, we've been looking at our fractions learning that we were doing last term. So we had a quick recap and then we started focusing on these special things. So the first thing we had a look at was recognising a unit fraction and a non-unit fraction. Then we were looking at 1/2 and 2/4 and see that they were equivalent to one another, which means they are exactly the same. And then we were finding 3/4 of a number and a shape too. So let's get started with unit and non-unit fractions as a quick reminder. So we found out the difference between them this week, and a unit fraction is a fraction where the numerator, and that's the top number, is 1. So the denominator is the bottom number in the fraction, and that one shows us how many parts there are altogether. And the numerator tells us how many parts that we're looking at, how many parts are shaded, for example. So a unit fraction is where there's only one part shaded. It doesn't matter how many parts there are, just one is shaded. So I want you to have a look at the shape that's on my screen now. Is that representing a unit fraction? Well done if you said it is, because it is. It has one part shaded and there's two parts altogether, so it's showing me a half. Okay, so a non-unit fraction has a numerator that's greater than 1. And I want you to have a look at those shapes that are on my screen again. And I want you to see if you can work out what the fraction is showing. So you need to have a look at how many parts are shaded and then how many parts there are altogether. So for my yellow, I've got 2/3 that are shaded. So 2 out of the 3 parts of the circle has been shaded. For the green one, I've got 2/5. So my shape has been split 5 ways and 2 of them are shaded. Then I've got 5/6 for the blue one and 3/8 as well. So they are a non-unit fraction because the numerator is greater than 1. Okay, and then we had a look at equivalent fractions and we looked at 1/2 and 1/4 and we knew that they were exactly the same. They are equal. And we looked at this for both shape and number. So we had a look at shading half of a shape. There we go, we split it and we shaded one part. And then we had a look at splitting it 4 ways and shading 2 parts. And we noticed that it was exactly the same. They had the same big amount. Then we had a look at it for number. So Mo and Amir are finding 2/4 of 16. And he says, I think that 2/4 of 16 is equal to 8 because half of 16 is 8. Then we had to use a bar model to check it out. There's my bar, there's 16, how much it's worth. We had to share out all of our counters until we worked out that Mo or Amir are absolutely right because it is 1/2 of 16 is 8, but also 2/4 of 16 is 8. Now, by the end of the week, we moved on to finding 3/4 and we looked at shape and number for that one. So I have 8 cookies here. I'll just move myself so you can see the last cookie. And we've got 8 cookies here and I want to know what 3/4 of 8 is. So we have to share the cookies like we have been doing before into those 4 sharing circles. We're using 4 circles because we're looking at quarters. So there's my circles and I remember I'm looking for 3/4. So I'm going to share my cookies equally, but then I'm going to look specifically at 3 of them. So I wonder if you can do this one at home. I'll give you a few seconds to do it. So you get your 8 cookies, share them out into the 4 circles. Okay, and then we count how many circles are in 3 of the, how many cookies are in 3 of the circles even. And there we go, there's my answer. 3/4 of 8 is 6. So I hope you got that too. And there we go, there's my underlines, just to make sure I've definitely counted just 3 of the circles. I'm not looking at 1/4, I'm looking at 3/4 this time. Okie dokie. So here are all of your jobs that I'd like you to be getting on with for this week. So if you'd like to do the rowing boat challenge, then I want you to label the fractions that I've given you and I want you to tell me if they are a unit fraction or a non-unit fraction. So there's a list of fractions there: 2/3, 1/4, 5/6, 4/7, 1/2 and 1/3. And I want you to tell me if they are unit or non-unit, please. If you are doing the sailing boat challenge, I'd like you to do the sharing plates method and find out the answer to all of those 3/4 questions there. And also I've put as an extra challenge down the bottom, could you maybe work out what 2/4 could be? Oh, that's the same as a half. If you're doing my submarine challenge, then we're talking about those equivalent fractions again. So it says 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent to each other. what other fractions are equivalent to each other? And I've put a few there to give you a clue, but can you think about those equivalent fractions? Which ones are exactly the same as one another? Which ones are equal? And then there's another extra part where it says, what is the equivalent for 1/4? So have a think on that one, please. Okay, well, I hope you've enjoyed your first week back of school and we've loved having you, and I'll see you again next week. Bye, everyone.